Now, the Serie A is the most tactical league in the world for me. In order for any manager to stand the chance of competing in the Italian league, they need to have that tactical acumen. They need to be able to dive into their tactical books, to roll their sleeves, to tweak their principles, to tweak their style of play in order to give their team a competitive advantage. I'm here to break down Juventus 2, Milan 0, because for the first time this season, I saw Thiago Motta dive into his tactical book, open up his mind and tell himself, I need to win this game. I really do. I can't make it 13 draws. I need to beat Milan. And he changed it around. But the change, it was so impactful. It's a change that I'm now sat telling myself, this is how Juventus need to play from now up until the end of the season. Players being utilised in different formations. The relentless press. This was a rejuvenated Juventus team. This was a hungry, motivated, a team that went out there and put on a statement for the whole world. This is Thiago Motta football. Now, at the end of the game, Thiago Motta had this to say. We wanted to be aggressive and not give Milan any time to play. Limiting their goalkeeper with intense pressing. The boys did it well, with a lot of energy. I feel like this was Juventus' best performance of the season. Comfortably their best performance of the season. But I feel like this is the first game of the season where even Thiago Motta probably has no complaints because the players followed his instructions to a T. This is a game that saw Juventus have 60-65% possession of the ball. But the thing that made it so dominant was 34% of it came in the opposition final third. And 45% came in the second phase. So it tells you they dominated the ball in midfield and in Milan's own half. Dominant, assertive, but a team that went out there to impose themselves. But the $1 million question is, how? Now, the first change that Thiago Motta made in order to give his Juventus players an edge over Milan, and on top of everything, to catch Milan by surprise, because Juventus throughout this entire season, off the ball, have always set up in a 4-2-3-1 shape. But this is the first time this season Juventus moved away from it. They decided to deploy the 5-2-3 shape. There was one player that was consistently required to drop in the middle of Gatti and Kalulu, providing an extra layer of protection, but on top of everything, giving them an extra body in build-up. And boy, oh boy, did he have a man of the match performance. Probably one of his best performances in a Juve shirt. And you guessed it right, that player was Manuel Locatelli. For me, it was a game-changing move. But let's just look at Locatelli's numbers in a bit more detail. We're talking 90% pass accuracy, 12 out of 15 long balls, 26 passes into Milan's final third. This is a ball progressing demon. And on top of that, winning 6 out of 6 duels. This was an amazing performance by Manuel Locatelli. But the 5-2-3 shape, it helped Juventus a lot, especially when playing out of the back and on top of putting out any possible fire that Milan were looking to create. Now, the thing that was most impressive about that Juventus performance, the thing that made them stand out the most, the thing that's probably got every Serie A fan that watched that game applauding Juventus, applauding Thiago Motta for this change, is this was Juventus' best pressing performance of the entire season, comfortably. Now, many times this season, I've criticised Juventus' press. It's literally ranked in the bottom 5 in the Serie A. It lacks aggression, it lacks intensity, but on top of everything, it lacks structure. For the first time this season, that Juventus press had structure. It had intensity and it had aggression. But on top of everything, it had players that were willing to commit to the press. Willing to engage, but when they engage, they win their duels. So how did they do this? Now, we've already established Juventus, when Milan have the ball in Juventus' half, they would sit back in their more defensive shape of the 5-2-3. Why? It's compact. There's a lot of layers of protection. It makes it hard for Milan to play their football. When Juventus were in possession, it was more of a 3-4-3. Once again, looks like they've moved away from the 3-2-5 shape that they've deployed this entire season. A 3-4-3 with Cambiasso and McKennie pushing into midfield, creating a row of 4 with Coop Miners and Thuram. Locatelli dropping in the middle of Gatti and Kalulu. But where the game-changing move was when Milan would have the ball in their own half and they're playing out of the back with their 4 defenders, Coop Miners would join into the press. Coop Miners would now push forwards, and you can clearly see this is a photo of Juventus pressing man to man. The game-changing move was Juventus went man to man. When you go man to man, you have to now adapt to the opposition. So if you see the opposition are now setting up in a 3-2-5 and build up, cool. One of the midfielders now drops back and you push 3. Throughout the game, I was watching Juventus, and so many times they were tweaking the way that they were pressing, but they understood man to man. So if I'm marking this player and now he drops deep, I drop deep with him. But you can see one regular theme was Milan trying to play out of the back with 4 players in their own half. Coop Miners would always push up. Now you can see Nico Gonzalez is on someone. Kenan Yildiz is on someone. Coop Miners is on someone. Mbangula is on someone. Closing down all the possible angles, and even if the pass was made, Juventus were aggressive. This man-to-man press was deployed all over the field. On the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, in the centre. They suffocated this Milan team. And I've always said this, the best of teams in the world, they're dominant in 2 departments. And they can control games in 2 departments. You can control the game in possession, but at the same time, the best of teams know how to control games out of possession. Why? The way you press, the way you move, dictates the way the opposition move the ball. And I feel like this is the first time this season where I saw a Thiago Motta team understand this assignment, but most importantly, know how to execute it. Now, this man-to-man press paid a lot of dividends. Juventus definitely reaped the rewards. When you look at the goal, Juventus were not just aggressive and brave out of possession. They were aggressive and brave in possession. When you look at the first goal by Mbangula, Kefran Turam is the player that I really want to focus on. Because Kefran Turam, in the middle of build-up, decides to push forwards. Now, when he pushes forwards, you can clearly see it gives Emerson Royale a dilemma, which is if I push out wide and mark the person that I'm supposed to be marking, which is Mbangula, guess what? I leave Turam open, unmarked in the centre. He was at a crossroads. Do I stick to Turam and leave Mbangula open, or do I go to Mbangula and leave Turam open? He made the decision of sticking to Turam, and that's what created the space for Mbangula. Mbangula receives the ball, perfect way. It was literally screaming at him, strike me. And he striked it. Of course, a deflection. But at the end of the day, this all came from Turam making that run forwards in order to occupy Emerson Royale. Touching on Mbangula, let's look at the second goal. And the second goal definitely focuses on Juventus' press. Now, you could see Milan are trying to play out. Fofana has a loose touch. But Mbangula, as soon as he sees that loose touch, he pounces. But even when you look at the photo, if it wasn't Mbangula, it's the player in behind. Fofana was literally in the middle of 2 Juventus players, loses the ball, but now it's the aggression. Now it's the intensity in possession. No passes backwards, no. Juventus were looking to pass the ball forwards. They were looking to attack the space that Milan had left in behind. Thuram slides it in to Weah, and Weah, it was just put on a plate for him where attack the space and get a shot on goal. And that's exactly what he does. But when you look at the second goal in particular, it comes from Juventus pressing. But when they do press and they do win the ball, they capitalize by attacking the space that Milan leave in behind. That is not something that I've seen a lot in this Juventus team this season. And so many times I've said, it feels like Juventus are playing with the handbrake on, where even when they do win the ball, passes sideways, passes backwards, players not being brave in possession, players looking scared, like they don't want to attempt the risky pass in case they lose it. No. In order to score, you have to be brave. Fortune favours the brave. Mbangula makes the tackle. Thuram progresses forward. He sees the space. He sees the run. He times the pass to perfection. Timothy Weah gets into the opposition box and he knows, let me just get the ball at my feet and strike it on goal. Catches the keeper by surprise and it puts Juventus 2-0 up. So what was the most important thing we learned from Juventus to Milan 0? And I feel like this is something that if Juventus were to master, they're halfway on their way to becoming a top team. And it is, controlling games out of possession is so beneficial. It's so rewarding. Let me break it down like this. I feel like football in the modern game is a 50-50 split. What you can do in possession, what you can do out of possession. So many times this season, whenever Juventus have mounted an attack, and let's say they've lost the ball in the opposition half, they only regain possession once it reaches Di Gregorio. So now they have to restart from scratch. They have to restart from the first phase and get the ball back up into the opposition half. The one thing I saw against Milan is whenever they lost the ball, they would regain possession in the second phase. They would regain possession in midfield. You're going to create more opportunities if you keep regaining possession in the second phase rather than the first phase. And it helped Juventus so much because it helps you sustain pressure. It helps you maintain pressure. And it allows you to keep bodies in the opposition half. That's what the best teams do. They don't always start from the beginning. No, they start on the halfway point. And there were even times where there was a Koop Miners opportunity where Juventus won the ball in Milan's own box. That is the benefits of pressing with structure, with intensity, but on top of everything, with aggression. Now that, in my opinion, were the changes that Thiago Motta made. But on top of everything, credit to the players for understanding what was required of them, but most importantly, executing them throughout a 90-minute game. Now, if you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to let me know what you think in the comments. And I'll catch you guys on another one.